Well, welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. Time to talk to our former Razorbacks now, Austin Allen and Travis Swanson. And guys, where do we start with this game, right? You could talk about eight different things that, here, there, Arkansas wins this game. Arkansas has the lead. Things that really kind of dictated this game. But kind of let's just start with your overall thoughts on just how you think things went yesterday. And Travis, we'll start with you.
Yeah, obviously not the outcome everyone wanted. This can't be a finger pointing game. I think there's a little bit of popcorn, a little bit of here, a little bit of there, depending on side of the ball, players, rules, things of that nature. It's unfortunate, it really is, just because I had some good feelings going into this one. Now, you can't chalk it up as necessarily all the refs' fault or all the guys' fault or all the coaches' fault. I think everyone's kind of in this together. I think the thing that hurts the most is just because I think how the season has gone so far, definitely everyone's been surprised, but you're so close to having a record outside of a couple games. If you just things went a little different, to be really in talk for the SEC West, like legitimately in the talk for the SEC West. So to kind of how things have shook out, I think positive and negative. People are surprised, happy, but you wish that you could get some of those moments back.
Yeah, I'd definitely say disappointed just because the expectations have been higher, as we competed better. I do think the defense played really well. They had six guys out on the D line, Jonathan Marshall in there anchoring the D line, Grant Morgan having 19 tackles. I thought they competed and they played hard just like they have all year. Offensively, sluggish, definitely in the first quarter. Once we started opening up the passing game, things started to click a little bit, but you go 0 for 10 on third down. It's tough to win in the SEC, let alone going 0 for 10 on third downs and trying to keep the defense on the sidelines to get a break. But overall, disappointed, especially the way it went with some of the calls we got, getting our best player kicked out. But, um, you know, like we said last week, you got to flush it and get ready for next week.
I want to talk about those 0-3 on third downs because I think that was obviously big. You got to sustain drives to be able to put points on the board. And the first four third downs that Arkansas had that they ended up having to punt was an incomplete pass to Traylon Smith. Do you think it maybe got a little predictable there? What were you guys seeing with the play calling in that situations, Austin?
Yeah, for me, we were close, especially those first few drives where it was an inch out of his fingertips, where it could have been a 40, 40 to 50-yard gain. There's no one in front of him, where just off the tip of his fingers. And then, once you're in third and long, it's tough. LSU's defense really athletic. They're going to play man. They're going to get pressure. It's just what they've done historically, and that's what they did last night. And it's more of just for the defense. They get a stop. They get on the 30 seconds later, they're back out there. Where that's kind of a um, swallow. But overall, I thought they did a good job of not letting. They didn't really give up big play. I didn't feel like where they held their ground and played well throughout the four quarters.
Travis, I'm curious to ask you about this too, because we were talking in the studio, and every time Arkansas would score, it'd be like they scored, but they scored too fast. They scored, but they scored too fast. And when you look at time of possession, LSU had the ball for
Uh-huh.
42 minutes. So you love to score, but then how do you kind of balance with an up tempo offense like that to give your defense a break?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you never want to complain about scoring, hands down. And I think it's, you out of all this, you cannot argue Felipe Frank's deep ball ability. You can't do it. You know the guy has it. It's undeniable. So I think you have to find that right rhythm between taking your shots, your right shots, because obviously the shot plays are working. So trying to work on exactly other areas within your offense schematically, whether it's screen game, ground game, draws, things of that nature. Now, kind of going back to your original question, was it predictable? That's hard to say just because we don't know, and I don't know what's Felipe's read progression on a lot of these plays. Was it designed to go to Draylon every time? There's just, for me, being on the outside, kind of looking in now, I think you leave it up to, interpretation to the fans, which is, why fans kind of like to watch the game, I feel like, because they can have an opinion. So for me, I don't know. I didn't think it was predictable. Kind of like going back to what Austin was saying, it was just a lot of things that were just unfortunate that happened. And then going to the defensive side of the ball, having so many guys down on that defensive line, that's unbelievable that those guys were able to get in and play through that, play the whole game the way they did.
Well, two tough
Yeah.
losses for Arkansas back to back. I feel like the LSU one is even a harder one to swallow than that Florida loss, even though that Florida loss, the point spread was bigger. But two guys that continue to kind of step up offensively are wide receivers, Burks and Mike Woods. And Mike Woods with another great game. Traylon Burks has over 1,000 yards in 18 games as a sophomore, already hit that 1,000 yard mark. So just how impressed do you guys continue to be with those two guys? Travis, we'll start with you.
Yeah, those guys, week in and week out, especially Traylon Burks, it's just he keeps going up and keeps going up. And I think he's the kind of guy that if he keeps doing the things that he's doing and continues to develop, continues to learn, continues to be a student of the game, he'll be able to reach heights that I don't think anyone would have been able to reach during Arkansas. I think he'll be that good if he continues on that path. And same with Mike Woods. Mike Woods, obviously, really, really good game. He was there when his number was called, so I think both those guys have a lot of upside.
Yeah, I think Mike Woods, his confidence is just shot through the roof, especially the last two games where, it's one-on-one on the outside press corner, and Felipe's looking at Mike, and Mike's winning. Where it's not really contested catches. He's beating guys by a good 2-3 yards. Where I think that goes to his off-season training. Where I follow him on Twitter, and he's always working. He seems like a workaholic. Where he's down in Texas, a footwork king or whatever they call it, and it's really showing up on Saturdays. So that's credit to him. And then Traylon Burks, I think the talent's just inevitable. Where he stepped foot day one on campus last year, and he was already the best player on the team. Where it shows up the whole season, showed up last year, but I think yesterday they really tried to get him the ball. It's tough. They're kind of the safety's focusing in on him, so he's kind of getting double teamed. That's what opens up Mike Woods one-on-one on the sidelines, and that's credit to Felipe for getting the ball out there and getting those matchups and getting the ball to the right place.
All right, so I have to ask you guys because Sam didn't answer because he could get fined, and Grant didn't want to answer. But we got to talk about the targeting call on Jalen Catalon, and we think what we want, but I need you guys' opinion on was it targeting, and if it was targeting, then what is Catalon supposed to do?
Yeah, it's not targeting. It's not. I think this is, whether you want to chalk it up, and good for Coach Pittman and Graham Morgan not saying anything because they would get fined. But the beautiful thing is we're not going to get fined, so we can't talk about it.
Yep.
I think it was ridiculous. I do. What more do you want him to do? And now I understand. I'm all for trying to make the game as safe as possible. But at the end of the day, you're still playing football. There's still a very physical, violent nature to this game. If you're going to set these parameters around what is legal and what is not legal, and you also have a replay system in place, I think, especially around the targeting situation, if it takes a half hour to figure it out, sit there for a half hour and review it. Make sure you get it right, because this is going to have a domino effect, not only on Jalen, but other players like him all throughout the league, that he's now going to have to miss time and not put good tape out there and not develop his game on game days. And it's unfortunate because the SEC, I'll give them this, they've been very consistent, which is good, but they've been very consistent with bad referee play.
Couldn't agree more. I don't understand how they can get under the hood, take a look at it, and then confirm what they called on the field, where they're the only people in the country who thought that way. Where I understand throwing the flag just because it was such a bang bang play on the field where, big hits, they want to take that out of the game. But for him to, in that split second, be able to turn his body, lead with his shoulder, hit him with his hip, and the guy's ducking, just take the safety position out of the game, basically, because there's nothing he can do. Where it's third down, the guy's, he's trying to make a play for the team, and he makes a great play, and he gets kicked out of the game and has to miss. That's one of our best players on our team. He's going to miss the first half next week, which I just think is completely unfair. Hopefully, I saw Hunter Yurchek's tweet where he's going to contest it, and hopefully Jalen, SEC can own up to their mistakes. I'm sure Hunter's going to get fined, but hopefully they own up to their mistakes and allow Jalen to play next week, because it's just they get 12 opportunities, and subjective thoughts of a guy targeting, and he gets punished and not be able to go out there and play one of 12 opportunities that they put all this work in for. It's just not fair.
And guys, we talked about Jalen a lot, about how impressive he plays, how well he plays, how hard he hits. But you also think about you take Jalen Catalon off the field, guys, and you've got young guys who are going to make mistakes. And I think we saw that with LSU's last touchdown is there was a wide open guy in the end zone, and I think it was Miles Slusher who was supposed to be on him, but he's in because Jalen Catalon is not. Does that happen if Jalen Catalon's in the game? Or when Jalen Catalon got a targeting call a few games ago, how the defense just almost kind of looked lost a little bit. So you're taking a guy who is really a leader and a voice on the defense, and you're taking him off the field for Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, I think, hats off to, coordinators that can recognize that they pay attention to who's on the field, who's not on the field, obviously. So you're gonna attempt to be exploited whenever you have a change within your defense or your offense from one of your key players. So I think you have to know that going into it. Now, is that making an excuse for guys to be out of position? No, not at all. You have a job. You're expected to do your job to the best that you can. At the end of the day, if you can't, then you know you're going to have to answer for that in some way, shape, or form, whether it's in film study or what have you. So I don't know. It's hard to say if that wouldn't have happened if Jalen was in there. I think it just goes back to the whole reason we're talking about this initially is the reps and the targeting call in the SEC and everything. It's just like everyone has to get on the same page in some way, shape, or form. If you're not going to utilize your replay system to the best that you can, then just take it out because it's not doing anything besides just wasting time.
Right, right. I mean, he's the quarterback of the defense where you see him pre-snap, he's getting guys lined up. He's all over the field. He's making calls and seems to be always in the right position. And what really is disappointing is he plays the game the right way, where he's a big hitter. He's flying around the field, but he's not intentionally lowering his head trying to hurt someone. He plays the game defensively how you want a safety to play, where you come across the middle of the field. I'm going to lay a big hit on you, but it's going to be legal, which he has done consistently all year. And then backups getting in the game. That's a tough spot to be in because LSU's driving. They got all the momentum, and you know it's just tough to come in on the sidelines and get the game speed with that quickly. So it's just disappointing that the refs took it in their own hands to make a judgment call and go against Arkansas for I feel like the 100th time this year and 1,000th time since Arkansas started in the SEC. So it's just really, really bad.
Well, I know that we can continue to talk about things in this game that we liked and that we didn't like, but let's give out some game balls, guys, and we'll start with Austin.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Jonathan Marshall. I think he's elevated his game this year where he's a guy kind of like Armand Watts was a few years ago where he's always been a productive player, but he's just taken his game to another level. And for him to be, one of the only starters with six of the other guys out on the D-line and how well they played, that's credit to him for his leadership and his ability where, it's a guy I think NFL scouts are highly sought after now after watching him play this whole year. And credit to him for just how well he's played all year and how good he played yesterday as well.
I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, I thought I was going to surprise you with that one, Austin, but you took it from me. Same thing. I was going to give it to Jonathan Marshall, and you hit the nail on the head with everything, Austin. It's you have to have that kind of a leader and that kind of a guy who's going to be out there down after down and just giving you his all, and also have the production that he's having against not just teams but SEC West teams. These are rosters filled with a lot of NFL caliber players. And I think Jonathan, if he continues to do what he's going to do, can make plays on Sunday. I think he will have his shot to have that ability to play on Sundays. So for me, hands down, he was easy, just especially seeing how he was playing yesterday. And given everything we know about the D-line and how shorthanded they were.
Great choices, guys. I also think that Armand Watts comparison is spot on. The jump we're seeing from Jonathan Marshall is exactly what we saw from Armand Watts, and look at him now. He's with the Vikings. Guys, thanks so much. Always great to talk to you, and we will catch up with you next week. The Picture Show rolls on after this.